The California gold rush of 1849 created demand for steamboats on the Pacific rivers, and in the early years of the rush, shallow draft steamboats built for the Atlantic and Western rivers actually took to the high seas on a voyage that would bring them through the Straits of Magellan into the Pacific Ocean and up the coast to San Francisco and the Sacramento River deltas. Some were successful and others were never heard from again. Wealth was more likely to be gained in a gold rush, meeting the needs of the miners, than engaging in mining itself. The mountain streams of the western slope of the Sierra Nevadas, where most gold was found, flowed out of the mountains and into California's Central Valley. The valley has physical qualities similar to an interior basin, where rivers flow into a huge depression with no access to the sea. Streams in the northern part of the valley flow south by way of the Sacramento River, and the streams of the south flow north by way of the San Joaquin River. What makes the Central Valley not an interior basin is that both rivers joined and found an opening in the Coast Range Mountains, so they deliver their water to the Suisun Bay, then the San Pablo Bay, north of San Francisco Bay. The Sacramento Delta is actually on the east side of the Coast Range in the Central Valley. Steamboats served the whole Central Valley region through this river system. The first vessels on the Sacramento River were shallow-running schooners that sailed close to the wind, meaning on the edge of danger. Most often the vessel would be abandoned upon reaching their destination. Schooners made the first regular runs between San Francisco and Sacramento on the Sacramento River, and San Francisco and Stockton on the San Joaquin River. The first steamboat to operate on California waters was the 37-foot Sitka, which ran from San Francisco Bay up the Sacramento to the port of New Helvetia, a part of present-day Sacramento. It had been purchased in Alaska by William Leidsdorf, a multiracial shipmaster of Spanish, African, Danish, and possibly Carib and Jewish ancestry. Leidsdorf was living in New Orleans when the United States acquired Louisiana from Spain. Leidsdorf became an American citizen and sailed merchant vessels out of New Orleans. In 1841, he sailed into San Francisco Bay and stayed. He was a Mexican citizen and owner of the Rancho Rio de los Americanos, establishing a hotel and shipping warehouse in Yerba Buena. Leidsdorf triggered the growth of a village that would soon become San Francisco. Leidsdorf would die a very wealthy man. Steamboats became as common plying the waters of San Francisco Bay as were ocean-going sailing vessels. The Antelope and the Wilson G. Hunt both survived the journey around Cape Horn. This photo is of the Neponset No. 2 at Knights Landing, California. The namesake of the vessel is a bay in Massachusetts. The Chrysopolis ran between Sacramento and San Francisco from 1860 to 1875, then was refitted as a ferry, as which it would serve for another 60 years. Besides the river systems of the Sacramento and San Joaquin rivers, steamboats also plied the waters of the Colorado River from the Colorado River Delta, where it spills into the Gulf of California and Mexico, then along the border between California and Arizona to the Virgin River Valley in Nevada. This photo shows that the port of Yuma was undeveloped in its early days. A steamboat culture arose in California similar to that of the Mississippi Valley. Steamboat captains in California also raced their boats. The Delta Queen is thought of as a Mississippi River steamboat, but service for the Delta Queen began in 1926 between Sacramento and San Francisco, with occasional excursions to Stockton on the San Joaquin River. The engine, hull, and first two decks were constructed by the William Denny and Brothers Shipyard of Scotland, then shipped in parts to a shipyard in Sacramento, where it was reassembled and fitted out. The Delta Queen was purchased in 1940 by the Branson Steamboat Lines of New Orleans, but was requisitioned by the U.S. Navy to be used in San Francisco Bay to ferry the wounded on board ocean-going ships to shore-based hospitals. In 1946, Delta Queen was purchased by Green Line of Cincinnati, Ohio, then brought through the Panama Canal to a shipyard in Pittsburgh, where it was refurbished. The Delta Queen plied the waters of the upper Mississippi, lower Mississippi, Ohio, Cumberland, and Tennessee rivers. The Delta Queen went through 7 owners, and for many years after the passage of the first Safety at Sea law in 1966, the boat had to operate by being exempted from the law. In 1970, the boat was placed on the Registry of Historic Places and declared a National Historic Landmark in 1989. In the 5 decades since the enactment of the Safety at Sea law, the Delta Queen has never had a major accident. That can be credited to excellent maintenance, responsible operation, and periodic refurbishing. The last refurbishing occurred in a Houma, Louisiana shipyard in 2015. I should not end this episode without mentioning the Delta Queen's brother ship, the Delta King. Also from Scotland, it began service in 1927 for the Sacramento to San Francisco trade, and also served as a naval vessel in World War II. After serving as an accommodation ship, or what we Louisianans call a quarter boat, at Kitimat, British Columbia in the 1950s, it returned to Sacramento, where it serves as a dockside hotel and restaurant.